I turned my key in the lock, but nothing happened. Standing in my driveway after 2 weeks in Alaska, I tried again. The deadbolt wouldn't budge. Then I saw them. My daughter Sarah and her husband Derek, both wearing smiles that made my stomach drop. Sarah folded her arms and said the words that changed everything. "We sold your house, Dad." $73,000. Derek's gambling debts are paid. Derek laughed. "You're homeless now, old man." I couldn't help but smile. "What's so funny?" Sarah snapped. I looked at them both and said, "The house you sold was actually under a $250,000 mortgage." The color drained from Sarah's face faster than water down a sink. Derek stopped laughing. His mouth hung open like a broken mailbox. "What are you talking about?" Sarah whispered. I set down my suitcase on the driveway. My legs felt steady even though my heart was hammering. 6 months ago, I refinanced. Took out a balloon payment mortgage with First National Bank. $250,000. Payments due in 90 days. Derek's face went from pale to red. "You're lying." "Check the county records," I said calmly. "The lien's right there. When you sold my house, you assumed responsibility for that debt. The sale doesn't clear a lien. You needed my signature to handle the mortgage payoff, and I sure didn't give it." Sarah grabbed Derek's arm. "You said you checked everything. You said it was clear." "I did a quick sale," Derek stammered. "Marcus said he'd buy it cash, no questions. $120,000. We split it. 73 for my debts, 47 we kept." "Marcus?" I felt my chest tighten. "Marcus Drummond? Your gambling buddy?" Derek's silence told me everything. I looked at the trash bags on my lawn. My clothes, my photo albums, my wife Martha's things, all stuffed into black plastic like garbage. Where are my important documents? My deed, my social security card, my bank statements? "In the house," Sarah said quietly. "We didn't go through everything. The house you sold 3 days ago." My voice stayed level, but inside I was screaming. So a stranger has my personal information now. Derek stepped forward, and I could smell whiskey on his breath even though it was only 2 in the afternoon. "Listen, old man, this is your fault. You should have told us about the mortgage." "Why would I tell you about my private financial business?" "Because we're family," Sarah said, but her voice cracked. "Family," I repeated. I looked at my daughter, this woman I'd raised, whose scraped knees I'd bandaged, whose college I'd paid for, whose wedding I'd walked her down the aisle at. "Family doesn't forge signatures, Sarah." Her eyes went wide. "That's right," I continued. "I know you forged my name on those sale documents. Marcus didn't need my signature because you provided it. Illegally." Derek grabbed Sarah's shoulder hard enough that she winced. "You told me your dad gave verbal permission." "I had to," Sarah said. "You said we'd lose everything if we didn't pay Victor back. You said he'd hurt us." Victor Reeves? The name hit me like a punch. Victor Reeves ran half the illegal gambling in the county. Everyone knew it. The police knew it. They just couldn't prove it. "Derek owes him money still," Sarah admitted. "The $73,000 wasn't enough. There's interest. Penalties. Victor wants another 50. My head spun. I'd been on a cruise ship, eating salmon and watching glaciers, while my daughter and her husband destroyed my life. "You need to leave," I said. "Both of you." "This is our property now," Derek said with a nasty grin. "We sold it. Legal and binding. With a forged signature. That's fraud. That's a felony." Sarah's face crumpled. "Dad, please. If we don't pay Victor, he'll kill Derek. Maybe kill me too." "You should have thought about that before you stole my house." Derek pulled out his phone. "I got insurance, old man. Listen to this." He played a recording. My voice, clear as day, saying, "Yes, go ahead with the sale. I approve. Do whatever you need to do with the house." Except I never said those words. Not in that order. Not in that context. "That's edited," I said. "Prove it," Derek smirked. "I got you on tape giving permission. Try telling the cops it's fraud now." I picked up one of the trash bags. My hands shook. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Not our problem," Derek said. "Maybe there's a shelter downtown. They take homeless people." Sarah wouldn't meet my eyes. I loaded what I could into my Honda. The car was 20 years old, but it ran. I'd kept it because Martha loved that car. Now it was all I had. I drove to the Starlight Motel on Route 12, the kind of place that rents by the week and doesn't ask questions. The clerk, a woman with tired eyes and gray roots showing, took my credit card. $400 for a week. It was all I could afford. The room smelled like cigarettes and cleaning chemicals trying to cover up cigarettes. The bedspread had burn holes. The TV only got basic cable. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to think clearly. Tomorrow I'd call my lawyer. George Patterson had handled Martha's estate 6 years ago. He'd know what to do. I'd file charges, get the sale reversed, sue Sarah and Derek for everything. My phone buzzed. A text from First National Bank. I opened it with shaking hands. Alert. Wire transfer from account, ending in 7,342. Amount, $22,800. New balance, $45,200. My blood went cold. I logged into my banking app. 3 wire transfers in the last 2 hours. 22,000. 23,000. Another 23,000. My savings account, the one I'd built over 40 years of work, was being drained. Someone had my banking information. Someone knew my security questions. My mother's maiden name. My first pet's name. The street I grew up on. Only one person knew all those answers. I'd told Sarah those stories over the years, not thinking, just a father sharing his life with his daughter. I called the bank. Got an automated system. Pressed numbers for 15 minutes before reaching a human. Sir, those transfers were authorized using your security credentials, the representative said. We can file a fraud report, but it takes 30 to 60 days to investigate. I need that money. It's my life savings. I understand, sir, but we have to follow protocol. I hung up. $68,000. Gone. Just like my house. Just like my dignity. I looked around the motel room. This was my life now. 72 years old, and I had nothing. $400 in my wallet. A car that might last another year. And a daughter who hated me enough to destroy me. I didn't sleep that night. Morning light came through the stained motel curtains like an accusation. I'd spent the night watching the ceiling fan wobble and trying to make sense of something that had no sense to it. My phone showed 6:45. I had an appointment with George Patterson at 9. I used the motel shower. The water pressure was weak, and the temperature swung from scalding to freezing every 30 seconds. I'd brought 1 clean shirt and 1 pair of slacks from the trash bags. I ironed them with the motel's iron, which sputtered and left a small brown mark on the collar. Good enough. The drive to George's office took 20 minutes. His practice was downtown, 3rd floor of the Riverside building, same place he'd been for 30 years. I'd known George since high school. We weren't close friends, but we'd kept in touch. He'd been at Martha's funeral. He'd helped me navigate the estate paperwork when I couldn't think straight from grief. I trusted him. The office looked different. New leather furniture in the waiting room. Expensive paintings on the walls, the kind with gold frames and little lights above them. A receptionist I didn't recognize. Young woman with perfect makeup and designer glasses sat behind a marble desk. Dudley Anderson, I said. 9 o'clock appointment. She checked her computer. Mr. Patterson will see you shortly. Please have a seat. I sat on a leather chair that probably cost more than my car. The magazines on the table were Current, Fortune, The Economist, Architectural Digest. George's practice must be doing well. 20 minutes later, the receptionist led me back. George's personal office had changed too. Bigger desk, better view. A liquor cabinet that looked like it came from a castle. George stood up and shook my hand. His grip was weak. Dudley, good to see you. It's been too long. I need your help, George. Of course. Sit down. Tell me what's going on. I explained everything. The cruise. Coming home to find the house sold. The forged signatures, the drained bank accounts, the mortgage bomb they didn't know about. George listened, but he kept checking his phone, kept glancing at the door. His right leg bounced under the desk. This is serious, he said when I finished. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse potentially. Can we reverse the sale? Probably. But it'll take time. Months, maybe a year. You'll need to prove the signature was forged. That means handwriting experts, court battles. Sarah and Derek will fight it. I don't care. They can't get away with this. George leaned back in his chair. He wouldn't look at me directly. Dudley, I need to tell you something. Derek came to see me 2 weeks ago. My stomach dropped. He told me you were having memory problems. Said you might do something rash when you got back from your trip. He wanted to know what legal options the family had if you became incompetent. Memory problems? George, I'm fine. You can see that. I know. But he also offered me money. $20,000 to slow walk any legal action you might take against him and Sarah. The room tilted. What? I took it, Dudley. George finally met my eyes. I have gambling debts. Same casino Derek uses. Victor Reeves owns it. I'm in deep. $90,000 deep. Derek's payment helped, but I'm still drowning. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. You're my lawyer. I was your lawyer. I can't represent you now. Conflict of interest. You're supposed to be my friend. I know. George's voice was quiet. I'm sorry. But Victor Reeves doesn't forgive debts. He doesn't care about friendship, or ethics, or anything except money. If I cross him, I'm done. My practice, my reputation, maybe my life. So, you sold me out for $20,000. I sold myself out for $90,000. Your 20 was just extra. He tried to smile, but it came out like a grimace. My advice? Let this go. Sarah's your daughter. Work it out privately. Fighting will only make things worse. Victor's operation is too big. You can't win. I walked out without another word. Down 3 flights of stairs because I couldn't stand waiting for the elevator. Out onto the street where normal people were walking to normal jobs with normal problems. My hands shook so bad I had to sit on a bench for 5 minutes before I could drive. The police station was 4 blocks away. I made myself walk there, made myself open the door, made myself approach the desk officer, a heavy-set man with sergeant stripes and kind eyes. I need to report a fraud, I said. He gave me forms. I filled them out. Every detail, every crime. When I finished, he read through them and nodded. This is serious. Let me get a detective. Detective Amy Rodriguez came out 15 minutes later. She was maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense handshake. We sat in an interview room that smelled like coffee and desperation. Walk me through it again, she said. I did. She took notes, asked good questions, seemed genuinely concerned. Mr. Anderson, I believe you, and I'll investigate. But I need to be honest. These family financial cases are complicated. The forged signature, that's clear-cut. But the bank transfers, if they used your security information, proving it was unauthorized gets murky. And the house sale, even with the forgery, might be considered a civil matter first. So you're saying they'll get away with it? I'm saying it's complicated. Give me a few days. Let me pull records, interview people. I'll do everything I can. I thanked her and left. The sun was high now, afternoon creeping in. I drove back to the motel and found Derek waiting in the parking lot. He wasn't alone. 2 men stood with him. Big men, the kind who work out for intimidation, not health. One had a scar running down his left cheek. The other wore a leather jacket even though it was 70 degrees out. Dudley, Derek said, like we were old friends. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Scarface stepped in front of my car. Mr. Reeves wants to see you. Victor Reeves can go to hell. That's not smart, Leather Jacket said. His voice sounded like gravel. Mr. Reeves is a reasonable man. He just wants to discuss the situation. What situation? The situation where you cost us a lot of money, Derek said. See? Marcus was supposed to flip your house for a profit. He had a buyer lined up. $200,000. He was going to pay off the mortgage, keep the difference. But now the sale's in question. The buyer backed out. Marcus is out the $120 he paid. Victor's not happy. That's not my problem. It is now. Scarface moved closer. You owe Mr. Reeves $50,000. For emotional damages. For lost business opportunity. For being a problem. I don't owe Victor Reeves anything. You got 2 weeks to pay, Leather Jacket said. Or we come back. And we won't be this polite. They left. Derek shot me a smile over his shoulder. I sat in my car, shaking, until my heart rate came down from stroke level. Inside the motel room, I counted my money. $290 left. No credit cards that weren't maxed. No savings. No house. And now a debt to a gangster. That evening, a courier knocked on my door, handed me an envelope. Inside was a court summons. Sarah had filed for a restraining order. The hearing was in 3 days. She claimed I'd threatened her and Derek with violence. That I had anger issues. That I'd been abusive when she was growing up. All lies. But the evidence attached included that doctored recording and sworn statements from 3 witnesses I'd never met. I lay on the motel bed and stared at that wobbling ceiling fan and wondered how my life had become a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The courthouse smelled like floor polish and anxiety. I wore the same shirt and slacks from 3 days ago, washed in the motel sink and dried on the radiator. They looked wrinkled and sad, which matched how I felt. I couldn't afford a lawyer. George had betrayed me, and every other attorney I'd called wanted a retainer I didn't have. So I stood alone at the defendant's table, while Sarah sat at the plaintiff's table with Derek and a sharp-looking woman in a $1,000 suit. The judge was Harriet Monroe, maybe 60, with reading glasses on a chain and a reputation for being tough but fair. I'd seen her name in the local paper before. "This is a petition for a temporary restraining order," Judge Monroe said. "Miss Sarah Thornton, you're asking the court to order your father, Dudley Anderson, to stay at least 500 feet away from you and your husband. What's the basis for this request?" Sarah's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, Miss Thornton has been the victim of ongoing harassment and threats from her father. Since returning from a vacation, Mr. Anderson has made violent threats, accused my client of theft without evidence, and created a hostile environment. Miss Thornton fears for her safety." "Mr. Anderson, you're representing yourself?" "Yes, Your Honor. I can't afford a lawyer. Everything I had, my daughter and her husband stole. That's an accusation you'll need to prove elsewhere. This hearing is specifically about whether you pose a threat. Miss Thornton, please testify." Sarah walked to the witness stand. She wore a conservative dress, minimal makeup, and her hair pulled back. She looked vulnerable, scared. Nothing like the cold woman who'd smiled while calling me homeless. "Miss Thornton, has your father threatened you?" "Yes." Sarah's voice trembled. "When he came back from his trip and found out about the house sale, he screamed at us. Said he'd make us pay. Said we'd regret crossing him. I've never seen him so angry." "I was upset," I said. "Your Honor, they sold my house without permission." "Mr. Anderson, you'll have your turn to speak." "Miss Thornton, continue." "My father has always had anger issues," Sarah said. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "When I was growing up, he'd yell at me for small mistakes. Break things. One time, he threw a plate against the wall because dinner was cold. That never happened. Not once. Not ever. He favored my brother Tom," Sarah continued. "When Tom died 5 years ago in that accident, Dad blamed me. Said if Tom hadn't been driving to visit me that night, he'd still be alive. He's hated me ever since." "Your Honor, that's not true," I said. "None of that is true." "Mr. Anderson, please wait your turn." Derek took the stand next. He described me as volatile, aggressive, unreasonable. Said I'd shown up at their apartment making threats. Said he feared I'd become violent. Then Sarah's lawyer played the recording. My voice, clear as anything. "I'll destroy you. Both of you. You'll pay for what you've done. I'll make sure you lose everything." Except those words came from 3 different conversations, spliced together. I'd said I'll destroy when talking about weeds in my garden. Both of you when inviting Sarah and Derek to dinner months ago. You'll pay when joking about Derek owing me $20 for a football bet. "That's edited," I said. "Your Honor, that recording is fake. Do you have evidence it's fake?" "No, but I never said those things in that context. They manipulated audio to make me sound threatening. Can you prove that?" "I need an expert. I need time. I need money for an expert." Judge Monroe looked at me over her glasses. "Mr. Anderson, I understand you're upset about the house situation, but this hearing isn't about property disputes. It's about safety. Based on the testimony and evidence presented, I am granting a temporary restraining order. You must stay 500 feet away from Sarah Thornton and Derek Thornton at all times. This order is effective for 90 days, at which point we'll have a full hearing." "Your Honor, please. They're lying. Mr. Anderson, if you violate this order, you'll be arrested. Do you understand?" "Yes. And Mr. Anderson, I want to say something directly to you." Judge Monroe leaned forward. "I've seen men your age go through difficult times and lash out at family members. It's understandable to feel angry, but threatening your daughter is never acceptable. She's your child. You should be protecting her, not intimidating her. I suggest you get counseling and figure out why you're behaving this way." I wanted to scream, to flip the table, to make someone, anyone, listen to the truth. But all I said was, "Yes, Your Honor." Outside the courthouse, Sarah and Derek walked to a new Lexus. Cream-colored, probably cost $50,000, bought with my money. I walked to my Honda. Got in. Sat there. The motel week was up. I had $80 left. Not enough for another week. Not enough for anything. I drove to Walmart and parked in the back of the lot, away from the lights. That's where I spent the night. Reclined seat. Thin blanket from one of the trash bags. The parking lot security guard knocked on my window at 2 in the morning, shined his flashlight in my face, told me I couldn't sleep there. I drove to a different Walmart. Slept 3 hours before the sun woke me. My gym membership was the last thing on my credit card before it maxed out. $29 a month at Planet Fitness. I used it to shower, to brush my teeth, to pretend I was still a human being and not a man living in his car. Breakfast was coffee, and a granola bar at a gas station. $2.50. I made it last all morning. I tried calling my old business partner, Frank Hutchins. We'd run a contracting company together for 15 years before I retired. Frank had bought out my share, gave me a fair price, kept the business going. We'd stayed friendly. "Dudley, I heard what happened," Frank said when he answered. His voice was careful. "I'm so sorry. I need help, Frank. Just temporary. A loan, maybe, or a place to stay while I get this sorted out." "I wish I could. I really do." But Louise said no. "She thinks you must have done something to deserve this. She doesn't want me involved." "I didn't do anything, Frank. Sarah and Derek stole from me." "I believe you. But Louise controls the finances. She's worried if I help you, we'll get dragged into a legal mess. I'm sorry." "Frank, please. I'm sleeping in my car. Look, I'll meet you this afternoon. But it has to be secret. Louise can't know. Walmart on Route 40, 2 o'clock. I got there at 1:50. Frank pulled up at 2:15 in his truck, the fancy F-150 with all the options. He looked embarrassed. Couldn't meet my eyes. "This is all I can spare," he said, handing me an envelope. "Louise watches the accounts." Inside was $200. "Thank you, Frank. I wish it was more. You were a good partner, good friend. This whole thing is wrong. Then help me fight it." He shook his head. "I can't. I'm sorry. If Louise found out I gave you this, she'd divorce me. I've got 3 more years until retirement. I can't risk it." He drove away. I sat in the Walmart parking lot holding $280 total, everything I had in the world, and realized that's what 40 years of hard work and honest living got you. Nothing. No loyalty, no safety net, just an envelope with money, and people too scared to help. That afternoon, a courier found me at the Walmart. I don't know how, handed me more legal papers. Sarah had filed for power of attorney, claimed I had dementia, attached medical records I'd never seen, from a doctor I'd never visited. Dr. Patricia Wells, neurologist. Her evaluation said I showed signs of severe cognitive decline, memory loss, poor judgment, and inability to manage my affairs. All fake, all lies, but official looking enough that a judge might believe it. The competency hearing was scheduled in 2 weeks. If Sarah won, she'd control everything. My Social Security, my pension, any assets I recovered, everything. I drove to a quiet street and parked, and I broke down. 72 years old, crying in a Honda that smelled like old fast food in desperation. I thought about Martha, about how disappointed she'd be seeing me like this, about how I'd failed to protect everything we'd built together. I thought about Tom, about his laugh, about how he died driving home from visiting Sarah 5 years ago. Black ice on Route 30. His truck went off the road. He was 38. Sarah blamed herself back then, cried for months. I told her it wasn't her fault, told her Tom would want her to move on, be happy. I'd comforted her. And this was my reward. I must have fallen asleep because someone banging on my window startled me awake. It was dark. A woman's face peered in. Detective Rodriguez. "Mr. Anderson? You okay?" I opened the door. "I'm fine. You're living in your car. Temporarily." She looked at me with something like pity. "Get in my car. Let's talk." Her unmarked sedan was warm. The coffee in the cup holder smelled fresh. Normal things. Things I used to take for granted. "I've been investigating," she said. "Marcus Drummond has a criminal record. Fraud. Forgery. He's done this before. I pulled records from 2 other counties. 3 elderly victims in the last 4 years. Similar pattern. Befriend someone with gambling debts. Help them sell their parents' property through fraud. Split the profits. Can you arrest him?" "I'm trying. But there's a problem. Marcus disappeared. Hasn't been at his apartment in 5 days. His phone's off. He's gone. Running from the law? Or running from Victor Reeves? Word is Marcus screwed up this job because of the mortgage situation. Victor doesn't like screw-ups. What about Sarah and Derek? That's more complicated. The forgery, yes. But Derek filed a counter-lawsuit against you this morning. Slander. Says you've been telling people he's a criminal, ruining his reputation. He's seeking $50,000 in damages." I laughed. Couldn't help it. Bitter, broken laughter. I'm living in my car with $280 and he's suing me for $50,000? It's a tactic. Keep you buried in legal problems. Make it expensive to fight back. Victor's operation does this. Overwhelm the victim. Most people give up. I can't give up. I have nothing left to give. She handed me a business card. "This is Joyce Harper, legal aid attorney," I called her. "She'll help you pro bono. She's good. Really good. Why are you helping me? Because I became a cop to stop people like Victor Reeves, and because my dad got scammed 5 years ago, lost his house to a fraud scheme, died 6 months later, broken heart. I couldn't help him. Maybe I can help you. She drove me back to my car. I sat there holding Joyce Harper's card and feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Hope, small, fragile, but there. I called Joyce, got her voicemail, left a message. Then I drove to a different parking lot, a church parking lot. The sign out front said, "All are welcome." I hoped that included men sleeping in their cars. I locked the doors, reclined the seat, and closed my eyes. Tomorrow I'd meet Joyce Harper. Tomorrow I'd start fighting back. Tomorrow. Joyce Harper's office was in a strip mall between a nail salon and a tax prep place. The waiting room had plastic chairs and outdated magazines. Joyce herself was maybe 50, with gray-streaked hair and sharp, intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Detective Rodriguez told me about your situation," she said, after we shook hands. "This is bad, but we can fight it." For 2 hours, we went through everything. She took notes, asked questions, made photocopies of every document I had. The court summons, the restraining order, the power of attorney filing. "The forged signature is our strongest evidence," she said. "We'll hire a handwriting analyst. I know one who works cheap for legal aid cases. We'll file motions to void the sale, freeze any remaining assets, and contest the power of attorney. How long will this take? Months, but we'll start immediately. First, we get an emergency hearing on the competency claim. That's most urgent. If Sarah gets power of attorney, this becomes much harder. What about Derek's slander lawsuit? Harassment tactic. We'll file a motion to dismiss. Unlikely to succeed, but we can argue your judgment proof. Can't get blood from a stone. I have $280 to my name. Then you're very judgment proof." She smiled, but it was sad. "Dudley, I'm going to be honest. This is going to be brutal. Victor Reeves has resources. He has lawyers on retainer who'll drag this out. But you have the truth. And you have me. We'll fight." I left her office feeling almost human again. For 48 hours, I let myself believe things would get better. Joyce filed the motions, served Derek and Sarah, requested the emergency hearing. Everything by the book. Everything proper. Then it all collapsed. The hearing on Derek's slander suit came first. Different judge. Judge Lawrence Brennan. Young guy, maybe 45, slicked back hair, and an attitude. Derek's lawyer was smooth. Presented 3 sworn affidavits from witnesses who claimed I'd publicly called Derek a criminal, a thief, a con artist. The witnesses were people I'd never met, never seen. But their statements were detailed, specific, convincing. "Mr. Anderson," Judge Brennan said, "have you been making defamatory statements about Mr. Thornton?" "I've told the truth. He is a criminal. He stole my house. That's for another court to decide. But you've publicly called him a criminal before any conviction. That's defamation per se." "Your Honor, he forged my signature." "Allegedly. And until proven, he's innocent. Your statements have damaged his reputation. I'm ordering you to pay $15,000 in sanctions immediately." "I don't have $15,000. I don't have $15. "Then you have 10 days to pay or face contempt charges." Court adjourned. Joyce tried to argue. Tried to explain. Judge Brennan wouldn't listen. He banged his gavel and moved to the next case. "He's bought," Joyce whispered as we left. "Has to be. That ruling was garbage. We'll appeal." "I can't pay $15,000. "I know. We'll file for an extension. Buy time." But time ran out 4 days later. Judge Brennan issued a warrant for my arrest. Contempt of court for failure to pay. I was picked up at the Planet Fitness parking lot while walking back from a shower. 2 officers. Polite but firm. Handcuffs. Back seat of a patrol car. County jail. The booking process took 4 hours. They fingerprinted me. Photographed me. Took my wallet, my phone, my belt, and shoelaces. Put me in an orange jumpsuit that smelled like industrial detergent and other people's fear. My cell was 8 by 10. Metal toilet, metal sink. Bunk bed with a mattress that felt like cardboard. I was 72 years old, and I was in jail. My cellmate was a kid named Tyler, 23, in for parole violation, covered in tattoos. He took one look at me and said, "You don't belong here, old-timer." "Neither do you probably." "Yeah, but I'm used to it. You look like somebody's grandpa." "I am somebody's grandpa." Except I wasn't. Sarah never had kids. Said she didn't want them. Now I knew why. You need a heart to be a parent. That night, lying on the bunk, I heard someone call my name from the common area. I looked out. A big man with a shaved head and neck tattoos stared at me. You're Dudley Anderson? Yeah. Victor Reeves says hello. Says you should have paid what you owed. I don't owe Victor anything. That's not how he sees it. You made him look bad. Cost him money. He doesn't forget. The man smiled. Sleep light, old-timer. I didn't sleep at all. Joyce got me out 4 days later. Argued me onto my own recognizance since I wasn't a flight risk and had no criminal history. Judge Brennan wasn't happy about it, but the law was clear. He let me go. I walked out of jail into sunshine that hurt my eyes. Joyce was waiting with her beat-up Toyota. Things got worse while you were inside, she said. How could they get worse? Sarah got the temporary power of attorney. Emergency order. Claims you're a danger to yourself. Judge signed it yesterday. Based on what? The fake medical records. And a new sworn statement from Derek, saying you tried to contact them multiple times in violation of the restraining order. I've been in jail. How could I contact them? They claimed you did it before you were arrested. It's all lies, Dudley. But it's official lies now. Sarah closed your remaining credit cards, canceled your gym membership, and filed to redirect your Social Security payments to an account she controls. I leaned against her car. My legs felt weak. I have nothing. You have your car, and you have me. We're appealing everything. But it takes time. I don't have time. She drove me to a gas station, gave me $40 from her own wallet. It's all I can spare right now. I'm sorry. I bought a cheap phone at the Dollar General. Prepaid, $10. Topped it up with 10 more. I had $20 left. That night, I parked behind an abandoned factory on the south side. Slept with the doors locked and a tire iron under the seat. At 3 a.m, someone tried the door handle. I sat up, heart hammering, saw a shadow move away. Could have been a homeless person looking for shelter. Could have been Victor's people. I didn't sleep again. Morning came gray and cold. November was ending. Winter was coming. I couldn't survive winter in my car. I drove to Sarah's apartment, not to violate the restraining order, just to see, just to understand. The building was nice. New construction. Probably $1,200 a month for rent. Their unit was on the second floor. Through the window, I could see them moving around. Sarah laughing. Derek drinking coffee. Living their lives on my money. A security guard noticed me. Sir, can I help you? No. Sorry. I was just leaving. You've been parked here 20 minutes. Residents complained. You need to move along. I moved along. To nowhere. From nothing. A ghost in my own life. The phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Anderson? This is Helen Bradshaw. Martha's sister. I hadn't spoken to Helen in 4 years. She'd moved to California after Martha died. Said the memories in town were too painful. We'd exchanged Christmas cards, but that was it. Helen? I heard about what's happening. Alice Pemberton called me. She saw you sleeping in your car at the church parking lot. She's worried about you. I'm fine. You're not fine. I'm flying in tomorrow. Don't argue. I'm coming. Helen, you don't need to do that. Martha was my sister. Your family. I should have stayed in touch. I should have been there. But I'm here now. I'm landing at 3 o'clock. Pick me up at the airport. She hung up before I could protest. I sat in my car and cried for the second time. Not from despair this time. From relief. Someone cared. Someone was coming. I spent my last $20 on gas to get to the airport. Helen came out of baggage claim looking older than I remembered. 75 now. White hair cut short, but strong, determined. She hugged me hard. You look terrible, Dudley. I've had better weeks. We're going to fix this. But first, we're getting you a decent meal. She bought me dinner at the airport Chili's. I ate like a starving dog. Burger, fries, side salad. I couldn't remember the last real meal I'd had. Martha had a life insurance policy, Helen said over coffee. Did you know that? She had the one that paid for her funeral. She had another one, a big one, $500,000. She set it up 10 years before she died, made it pay out to a trust for your benefit. I'm the trustee. My hands started shaking. What? She knew Sarah was troubled. She never trusted her completely. Martha wanted to make sure you were protected. The trust has been sitting there, earning interest. It's got about $300,000 in it now. Why didn't you tell me? Martha's instructions were specific. I could only access it if you faced financial hardship. She wanted you to live your life normally. But if something went wrong, if Sarah tried something, the The money would be there. This qualifies. I can use it? That's why I'm here. We'll go to the bank tomorrow, get you access. But Dudley, there's a problem. To access the trust, we need your identification documents. Driver's license, social security card, passport. Do you have them? They were in my house. Sarah sold it. Everything's gone. Helen's face fell. Then we have a problem. The bank requires 3 forms of ID to access a trust this large. Anti-fraud measures. So close to salvation, and still out of reach. We'll figure it out, Helen said. We'll go to the DMV, get you a new license, Social Security office for your card. It'll take time, but we'll do it. I can't prove who I am without ID, and I can't get ID without proof of who I am. It's circular. Then we'll find another way. She paid for a motel room. 2 beds, clean sheets, working heat. I showered for 30 minutes. Fell asleep on a real mattress for the first time in 2 weeks. In the morning, Helen posted bail for the contempt charge, using her credit card. $10,000 to keep me out of jail while we appealed. She hired a private investigator. She hired a new lawyer to work with Joyce. She spent money I could never repay. Martha would have done the same, she said. So I'm doing it for her. Maybe things were finally turning around. Then the phone rang. Helen answered. Her face went pale. When? How? She hung up. Looked at me with tears in her eyes. That was Detective Rodriguez. Derek was arrested last night. He and Sarah both. Elder fraud charges. The DA finally moved forward, based on evidence Amy gathered. That's good news. But Victor Reeves posted their bail. $200,000 total. They're out already. And Dudley, someone vandalized Amy's car last night. Slashed the tires. Left a note that said, "Back off." The fight was just beginning. Helen's motel room became our command center. She spread documents across both beds. Bank statements, legal filings, Detective Rodriguez's case notes. Everything we had. We need a strategy, Helen said. Victor Reeves is the key. He's protecting Derek and Sarah because they're assets to his operation. If we can expose him, the whole thing collapses. The private investigator Helen hired was named Thomas Wright. 60 years old, former cop, now ran his own firm. He showed up that afternoon, wearing jeans and a leather jacket, carrying a laptop covered in stickers. Your situation is complicated, Thomas said after Helen briefed him. But I've seen worse. Let me dig into Derek and Marcus, see what connections I can find. He left. Helen and I went to the DMV. 4 hours in line. I filled out forms for a replacement license. They needed my birth certificate. I didn't have it. We'd have to order one from the county clerk. That would take 2 weeks. We'll come back, Helen said. Let's try Social Security next. The Social Security office was worse. Another 3-hour wait. When we finally saw a clerk, she explained I needed 2 forms of ID to get a replacement card. I had none. This is impossible, I said outside, standing in the cold parking lot. Nothing's impossible. We're just taking the long way. That night, Thomas called. I found something. Derek and Marcus ran this exact scam on 3 other elderly people in the region. I pulled property records, court filings, police reports. Same pattern every time. Marcus befriends someone with a gambling problem. They target the parents' property, quick sale, split the money. 2 of the victims died within a year. 1 committed suicide. The 3rd is in a nursing home with no money. Can we use this? I'm building a case file. But here's what's interesting. In every case, George Patterson was somehow involved. Either as a lawyer for the victim who didn't fight hard enough, or as a witness who provided convenient testimony. He's part of Victor's network. George admitted he took money from Derek. It's bigger than that. George has been running interference for Victor's operation for years. I found a dozen cases where George represented elderly clients, and somehow those clients ended up broke. I think he's a spotter. Identifies vulnerable targets, provides legal cover, gets paid off the top. Helen leaned forward. Can we prove it? Working on it. Give me a few more days. 2 days later, Helen and I went to the county clerk's office. Requested my birth certificate. Paid $35 of Helen's money. They said it would be ready in 10 business days. While we waited, Joyce Harper filed new motions. The handwriting analyst examined the signatures on the house sale documents. His report was clear. The signatures were forged. Not even good forgeries. Someone had traced Dudley's name from another document, but pressed too hard in some places. too soft in others. The rhythm was wrong. The expert was willing to testify. "This is huge," Joyce said when she called. "With this, we can void the sale. Get your house back. Maybe even press criminal charges." Sarah's already facing elder fraud charges. This adds weight. Shows a pattern. The DA loves patterns. That same day, Richard Stone called Helen. Richard was the attorney Helen hired to supplement Joyce. Big firm downtown. Expensive suits. Reputation for destroying opponents in court. He didn't come cheap, but Helen insisted. "I've reviewed everything," Richard said over speakerphone. "This isn't just fraud. It's racketeering. Victor Reeves is running an organized criminal enterprise. Under RICO statutes, we can go after everyone involved. Civil suits with triple damages. But more importantly, this is federal crime territory. We should bring in the FBI. Will they care?" I asked. "If we give them Victor Reeves on a platter, they'll care very much." Richard had a contact. Special Agent Karen Walsh, Financial Crimes Division. He called her while we listened. Explained the situation. She agreed to meet. 2 days later, we sat in a conference room at the FBI field office. Karen Walsh was maybe 45, blonde hair pulled back tight, eyes that missed nothing. She listened to our story without interrupting. Looked at the documents. Asked pointed questions. "How much total do you estimate Victor's organization has stolen?" she asked. "Based on Thomas Wright's investigation, at least 20 million over 10 years, Richard said. "Probably more. We've identified 214 potential victims across 3 states. Karen nodded slowly. "That's enough. But I need a cooperating witness. Someone inside the operation willing to talk." "Sarah might flip," I said. "Your daughter who hates you?" "She's scared. Derek's abusive. Victor's dangerous. She's trapped. If we offer her a way out, she might take it." "It's risky," Karen said. "But if she'll wear a wire, testify, give us Victor, we can build a case." Detective Amy Rodriguez came to the meeting. She'd been coordinating with Karen. "I've been pressuring Sarah," Amy said. "She's cracking. Derek hit her last week." She came in with a black eye, asking about protective custody. I told her we could help if she cooperated. "Will she?" Helen asked. "I think so. She's terrified." "She should be," I said. Couldn't help the bitterness in my voice. Helen put her hand on mine. "Sarah made terrible choices. But she's still a victim too. Victor and Derek manipulated her. She chose to steal from her own father. And she'll pay for that. But if she helps us stop Victor, maybe she can start to make it right." I didn't believe it, but I nodded anyway. The plan came together over the next week. Richard filed a massive lawsuit. Named everyone. Sarah, Derek, Marcus, George Patterson, Victor Reeves, and 15 other people Thomas identified as part of the operation. Civil RICO charges, fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, triple damages, punitive damages. The lawsuit asked for $30 million. "We'll never collect that much," Richard admitted, "but it gets attention, puts pressure on everyone, makes people want a deal." The FBI got a warrant. Started surveillance on Victor. Wiretaps on his phones. They followed his money through shell companies and offshore accounts. Karen said it was a goldmine of evidence. "But we still need someone inside," she insisted. "Someone wearing a wire who can get Victor to incriminate himself." Detective Rodriguez brought Sarah in. Not for arrest. For a conversation. Helen and I watched through one-way glass. Sarah looked broken. Thinner than I remembered. Bruises on her arms. She sat across from Amy and Karen and didn't say anything for 2 full minutes. "You're facing 20 years, Karen finally said. "Elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, federal charges now, not just state. Even with cooperation, you're looking at 5 to 10 minimum." Sarah started crying. "But there's another option," Amy said, her voice softer. "Help us get Victor Reeves. He's the real criminal here. You and Derek are just soldiers. We want the general." "He'll kill me," Sarah whispered. "We'll protect you. Witness protection if necessary. New identity, new life. But you have to give us Victor." Sarah looked at the mirror. Like she knew I was watching. "My father will never forgive me." "Probably not," Amy said. "But maybe you can live with yourself if you do the right thing now." Sarah closed her eyes. "What do you need me to do?" The plan was simple but dangerous. Sarah would wear a wire and meet with Victor. Tell him Derek was planning to run, to skip bail and disappear. Say she wanted to know if Victor would protect her, or if she should run too. Get him talking about the operation, about the other victims, About George Patterson and Marcus, and everyone involved. He might suspect, Karen warned. If he finds the wire, you're in danger. I know, Sarah said. They spent 2 days prepping her. What to say, how to act, how to not touch the wire or give away its presence. They gave her a panic word. If she said butterfly, the agents would move in immediately. I didn't trust Sarah to go through with it. Thought she'd warn Victor. Thought she'd bail at the last second. But Helen believed in her. She's Martha's granddaughter, Helen said. Somewhere inside, there's still good. The meeting was set for a restaurant downtown. Victor's favorite place. Italian food. Private booths. Easy to sweep for bugs, which Victor's people did every time before he arrived. But the wire Sarah wore was FBI grade. Undetectable, unless they strip-searched her, which they wouldn't. Women got searched by women, and Victor's organization didn't have any women in security roles. Sexism was about to work in our favor. The day of the meeting, 15 FBI agents positioned around the restaurant, another 20 in backup. Thomas Wright was there too, separate from the operation, watching. He called Helen with updates. She's going in, he said at 6:15. Victor's already there. We waited. Helen paced the motel room. I sat on the bed, hands clenched. Minutes crawled past. At 6:43, Thomas called back. She's out. It's good. Karen says they got everything they need. The arrest came fast. FBI raided Victor's restaurant, his home, his businesses, picked up his enforcers, his accountants, his lawyers. George Patterson was arrested at dinner with his wife. Marcus was found hiding in a cabin upstate. Derek was arrested at the apartment he shared with Sarah. They all went down. The news ran it as the lead story. Major organized crime ring busted. FBI arrests 23 in elder fraud operation. Victor's mugshot was everywhere. Cold eyes. No expression. In jail, he'd have plenty of time to work on that expression. But that night, sitting in the motel with Helen, watching the news, I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Sad. Lost. You should feel proud, Helen said. You fought back. You won. I lost my daughter. You lost her a long time ago. Maybe this is how you get her back. I didn't believe that. But I wanted to. The first threat came 2 days after Victor's arrest. A brick through Helen's motel window at 3 in the morning. Glass everywhere. The brick had a note rubber banded around it. This isn't over. Hotel security called the police. Detective Rodriguez came personally. Victor made bail. How? The charges are federal. His lawyers argued he wasn't a flight risk. Judge set bail at $5 million. His family posted property worth that much. He's out, pending trial. So he can come after us. He won't do it personally. Too obvious. But his organization still exists. Most of his people made bail too. They're loyal to him. This is retaliation. Helen looked at the broken window, the glass on the floor, and didn't flinch. We're not backing down. You should consider protective custody. For how long? Until the trial? That could be a year away. Better than being dead. We moved motels. Then moved again when someone slashed Helen's rental car tires. Then again when a man in a ski mask followed me into the McDonald's bathroom and said, "Drop the lawsuit. Last warning." I didn't drop it. Richard Stone didn't either. 3 days after the bathroom incident, Thomas Wright was attacked. Coming out of his office at night, 3 men jumped him. Baseball bats. Broke his arm, 3 ribs, fractured his jaw. He spent 4 days in the hospital. When Detective Rodriguez asked if he wanted to pull back, he said no. Said he'd been beaten worse in the Navy. Richard Stone got death threats. Letters mailed to his office. Photos of his kids at school. His wife begged him to drop the case. He didn't. I've dealt with worse than Victor Reeves, Richard said in a meeting. We keep going. But I was terrified. Not for myself. For Helen. For everyone helping me. People were getting hurt because I wouldn't quit. Maybe we should drop it, I said. Absolutely not, Helen snapped. That's what they want. They're trying to break us. We don't break. The FBI increased protection. Karen Walsh assigned agents to watch Helen and me. But she was frustrated. Victor's smart. Everything's deniable. We can't prove he ordered any of this. Then how do we stop him? We get him convicted. Fast. Make him a bigger priority for the U.S. attorney. Right now, his trial is scheduled for 8 months from now. Too long. We need to move it up. Richard worked his connections. Called in favors. The trial got moved to 4 months out. Still too long, but better. During those weeks, Detective Rodriguez worked on Sarah. Convinced her the only way to stay safe was to testify. Sarah agreed. She moved into a safe house. FBI protection. New phone number. No contact with Derek, who was also in custody, but in a different facility. I didn't see Sarah, didn't talk to her, didn't want to. You should visit her, Helen said one night. She's your daughter. She stopped being my daughter when she forged my signature. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was calculated cruelty. Helen didn't push, but I could tell she thought I was wrong. The investigation kept growing. The FBI found evidence of 214 victims across 3 states. Some alive, most dead. Families came forward with stories like mine. Elderly parents drained of savings. Properties sold out from under them. Lives destroyed. Victor's network was sophisticated. He'd recruited corrupt lawyers like George Patterson, medical professionals who'd falsify records, real estate agents who'd rush sales, judges who'd rule favorably. A whole system designed to prey on vulnerable people. The amount stolen topped $40 million. This is one of the largest elder fraud operations we've ever seen, Karen told us. You breaking it open? It's huge. You should be proud. But more threats came. Someone broke into Richard's office and trashed it. Someone called Helen's daughter in California, said awful things. Thomas Wright's car was firebombed in his driveway. Joyce Harper found a dead cat on her doorstep with a note. You're next. Victor was sending a message. Help Dudley Anderson, and you pay. I called a meeting. Helen, Richard, Joyce, Thomas, Detective Rodriguez, Special Agent Walsh. Everyone in a conference room at the FBI office. I'm dropping the lawsuit, I said. Silence. No, Richard said. People are getting hurt because of me. I can't live with that. People are getting hurt because Victor Reeves is a criminal, Karen said. This isn't your fault. I'm the one pushing this. If I stop, it stops. Actually, it doesn't, Karen said. The federal case moves forward regardless. We have enough evidence to convict Victor with or without the civil suit. Your lawsuit is just leverage. It's not the main event. Then why is he attacking people helping me? Because he's desperate, Richard said. The evidence against him is overwhelming. He knows he's going down. This is his last attempt to scare witnesses, disrupt the case, create chaos. If we back off now, he wins. Helen stood up. I didn't fly across the country and spend my life savings fighting this to quit now. We're seeing this through. Thomas nodded despite his broken arm in a cast. Joyce agreed. Detective Rodriguez said nothing, just gave me a look that said, don't you dare quit. We need to turn the tables, Richard said. Stop playing defense. Start playing offense. How? We go after Victor directly, legally. Force him to respond to us instead of us reacting to him. File criminal complaints for witness intimidation. Sue his businesses. Freeze his assets. Make his life hell. Won't that make him more dangerous? He can't get more dangerous than he already is, Karen said. And frankly, we want him to escalate. Every threat, every attack, it builds our case. We're documenting everything. When we get him to trial, the jury will see a pattern of violence and intimidation. It'll bury him. You want to use us as bait. I want to use his own tactics against him. He's trying to intimidate witnesses. That's a crime. Let him commit more crimes. We'll add them to the charges. It felt wrong, but I agreed. Richard filed new motions. Personal lawsuits against Victor, against his businesses, requests to freeze bank accounts, liens on properties, everything legal but aggressive, designed to provoke. It worked. 2 days later, Victor called me. I don't know how he got my new number, but my phone rang, unknown caller, and when I answered, his voice was smooth and cold. Dudley, we should talk. I have nothing to say to you. You're making a mistake. This doesn't end well for you. Is that a threat? It's a fact. I have resources. Patience. You've cost me a lot of money, old man. Embarrassed me. Made me look weak. People who do that suffer consequences. Record this, I mouthed to Helen. She grabbed her phone, started recording. I'm not backing down, I said to Victor. Then you're a fool. I've destroyed better men than you. Smarter men. Younger men. You're 72. How much time you got left? 5 years? 10? You really want to spend it fighting me? I want to spend it seeing you in prison. He laughed. Prison? You think I'm going to prison? That's adorable. I have 6 lawyers. The best money can buy. I'll tie this up in appeals for a decade. You'll be dead before I serve a day. Maybe. But I'll die knowing I fought back. Brave words. Here's braver ones. Drop the lawsuit. Convince your daughter to refuse to testify. Make this go away, and I'll leave you alone. Let you live whatever sad life you have left in peace. No. Then, I'll target everyone you care about. Helen, that PI with the broken arm, your lawyers, everyone, one by one, until you beg me to stop. You just threatened multiple people. On tape. You're done, Victor. Silence. Then he spoke, and his voice was ice. You think you're smart. You're not. You're an old man who got lucky. Luck runs out. He hung up. Helen immediately sent the recording to Detective Rodriguez and Karen Walsh. Within an hour, new charges were filed. Witness intimidation, terroristic threats. Victor's bail was revoked. Marshals picked him up that night. This time, he didn't get out. He's done, Karen said when she called. That recording was a gift. Juries hate that kind of arrogance. When this goes to trial, we play that. It's over. But Victor's organization didn't stop. His lieutenants kept coming. More threats, more vandalism. Someone shot out the window of Richard's office at night. Someone tried to run Thomas off the road. It was war. The FBI responded with more arrests. Picked up 6 of Victor's top people, charged them with conspiracy. The organization was crumbling. Then Sarah called. The FBI let her contact me, supervised. I almost didn't answer. Dad? Her voice was small. What do you want? I need to tell you something. About Tom. My heart clenched. What about Tom? He didn't die in an accident. Derek told me last night. Victor's people caused it. Tom was investigating Victor, writing a story for the newspaper. He was going to expose the operation. So they ran him off the road. Made it look like black ice. The room tilted. What? I didn't know until now. Derek was bragging about it, high on something, saying Victor's protected him for years, saying Victor killed people who got in his way. Tom was one of them. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Tom, my son, murdered. There's more, Sarah said. Victor specifically targeted you. Because Tom was your son, it was revenge. He had Derek seduce me, manipulate me, get me to hurt you. The whole thing was planned. Years in the making. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. She was crying. I was crying. Helen held me while I shook. I'll testify, Sarah said, to all of it. Everything Derek told me. Everything I know. I'll make this right. You can't make this right, I said. Tom is dead. I know. But I can help you get justice. The call ended. I sat in silence. Helen didn't say anything. What was there to say? Tom, my boy, murdered by Victor Reeves. And I'd been living in ignorance for 5 years, thinking it was an accident, random tragedy, when it was murder. The FBI opened a new investigation into Tom's death, exhumed his body, re-examined the accident scene, found evidence it wasn't an accident, brake lines tampered with, witnesses who'd been paid to lie about road conditions. Victor was charged with first-degree murder. Now it was personal in a way it hadn't been before. This wasn't about money or property or fraud. This was about my son. The trial was moved up. 6 weeks away. Maximum priority. And I'd be there for every second of it. 6 months after Victor's arrest, the trial began. Federal courthouse downtown. Cameras everywhere. National news covering it. The biggest organized crime trial in the region's history. I sat in the gallery every day, Helen beside me, watching as the prosecutors built their case. Documents, recordings, witnesses, 214 victims represented. $40 million stolen. Lives destroyed. Sarah testified on day 7. She walked into the courtroom looking thin and pale, took the oath, sat in the witness box, and told everything. The operation, the manipulation, how Derek recruited her, how Victor orchestrated it all. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. The defense attorney tried to break her, called her a liar, a criminal herself, said she was testifying to save herself. Sarah held firm. I did terrible things, she said. I hurt my father. I stole from him. I deserve to be punished. But Victor Reeves is the reason any of it happened. He's a predator. He finds vulnerable people and uses them. I was vulnerable. My grief over my brother made me angry. Derek exploited that anger. Victor directed it. They destroyed my family. And I helped them. She looked at me when she said it. I looked away. Derek testified too. Cut a deal for reduced time. 15 years instead of 30. He gave up Victor completely. Described meetings, orders, how Victor planned each fraud, how he'd laughed about the old people who trusted them. George Patterson testified. Already disbarred, facing his own charges, with nothing left to lose. He detailed years of running interference for Victor, identifying vulnerable clients. steering them into bad decisions, getting paid in cash. Marcus Drummond testified via video from witness protection. Said Victor had ordered him killed after the botched sale of my house. Said he'd barely escaped. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated 3 days, came back with guilty verdicts on all counts: racketeering, fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, witness intimidation, and first-degree murder for Tom's death. Victor showed no emotion as the verdict was read, just stared straight ahead. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge was stern, gray-haired woman named Margaret O'Connor. She'd been hearing testimony for weeks, listening to victims, seeing the damage. "Mr. Reeves," she said, "you are a parasite. You fed on the vulnerable, the elderly, the trusting. You destroyed families, ended lives, all for money. And when one brave man stood up to you, you had his son murdered. You are irredeemable." She sentenced him to 23 years in federal prison. No parole. Derek got 12 years. Marcus got 8. George Patterson got 4+ disbarment. The others got various sentences, all of them going away. Sarah's sentencing was last. The judge looked at her sadly. "Miss Thornton, you cooperated fully. Your testimony was crucial, but you still committed serious crimes. You hurt your own father in ways that can never be repaired. However, I believe you were also a victim. You were manipulated, used, and you've shown genuine remorse." 3 years. Reduced from the 10 she could have gotten, Sarah would serve 22 months with good behavior. Before they took her away, I asked to speak to her. We sat in a private room, guard outside. Sarah looked small in her orange jumpsuit. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know that doesn't fix anything." "No, it doesn't. I love Tom too. I didn't know what Victor did. If I had, I never would have worked with Derek. Never would have hurt you. You resented me," Derek told me. "Said you thought I loved Tom more than you. I did think that. After he died, I felt like you forgot about me. Like you only cared about the son you lost. That's not true. I know that now. But grief makes you crazy. Makes you believe things that aren't real. Derek saw that craziness and used it. I let him. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to understand why I did something so awful." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, saw Martha's eyes, Tom's chin, my own stubborn expression. She was broken, lost, a victim and a perpetrator both. "I understand," I said, "but I can't forgive. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know. When you get out, I'll help you. Find a job. Get on your feet. Because that's what parents do. But our relationship is different now. Changed. I don't know if we can ever get it back." She nodded, tears streaming. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve." They took her away. Helen put her arm around me as we left the courthouse. The civil suits took another year to resolve. Richard Stone was relentless. He went after Victor's assets, his properties, his businesses, everything. The court awarded damages to all 214 victims. I got back most of what was stolen. Not all, but most. The house sale was voided. But the house itself was damaged. Squatters had destroyed the interior. Insurance covered repairs, but I couldn't live there. Too many memories. Too much pain. I sold it and bought a smaller place near Helen. She'd stayed, moved back permanently, said she'd spent too long away. We lived near each other, had dinner 3 times a week, watched old movies together. She became my best friend. My only friend, really. Most people my age were too settled in their lives to make room for a 72-year-old man starting over. The money from the trust and the civil suit set me up comfortably. Not rich, but secure. I'd never have to work again. Never have to worry about bills. It should have felt like victory. It felt like survival. I started volunteering with victim services, helping other elderly fraud victims, giving talks at senior centers about protecting yourself, recognizing scams, trusting your gut when something feels wrong. People would come up to me after the talks, thank me, tell me their own stories. The son who stole their retirement, the daughter who forged their signature, the caretaker who emptied their accounts. So many stories. So much pain. I realized my story wasn't unique. It was common, ordinary, happening everywhere to people who'd worked their whole lives and trusted the wrong person. That was the hardest lesson. You could do everything right, live honestly, raise your children with love, and still end up betrayed. Because people are complicated. Grief is powerful. Manipulation is real. And sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones who destroy you. 1 year after the trial, I visited Tom's grave. Helen came with me. We brought flowers, stood in silence for a while. "I got justice for you," I said to the headstone. "It doesn't bring you back. But Victor's in prison. He'll die there. That's something." Helen squeezed my hand. "Tom would be proud of you. For fighting back. For not giving up. I almost did. So many times. But you didn't. That's what matters." I visit the grave once a month now. Tell Tom about my life. The people I've helped. The talks I give. Sometimes I tell him about Sarah. How she's doing in prison. The letters she writes me. I don't write back yet. Maybe someday. 2 years after the trial, Sarah got out. 22 months served. She called me from a halfway house. Asked if we could meet. I said yes. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. She looked healthier. Older. More tired. "I'm working at a grocery store," she said. "Stocking shelves. It's minimum wage, but it's honest." "That's good. I'm going to AA meetings. Not for alcohol. For gambling addiction. Turns out I had one too. That's what Derek hooked me with. The thrill of betting. Winning. I've been clean 18 months. I'm glad. I want to make amends. Not just say sorry, but actually make things right. However long it takes. I don't know what that looks like. Me either. But I'm willing to try. We meet once a month now. Coffee. Sometimes lunch. We don't talk about the past much. We talk about now. Her job. Her therapy. My volunteer work. It's stilted. Uncomfortable. But it's something. Helen says healing takes time. Says Martha would want me to try. I think she's right. 3 years after everything started, I'm sitting in my living room. Comfortable house. Enough money. Friends at the senior center. Purpose through my volunteer work. A relationship with my daughter that's broken but maybe fixable. I'm 75 years old now. I have arthritis in my knees. My hearing's not great. I take pills for blood pressure and cholesterol. I'm getting old. But I'm alive, and I'm standing. That morning on my driveway, when Sarah told me I was homeless, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd lost everything that mattered. And I had lost a lot. My house. My money. My sense of security. My relationship with my daughter. Years of peace. I'll never get back. But I learned something about myself. I learned I'm tougher than I thought. That when everything gets stripped away, you discover what you're really made of. I'm made of whatever Martha was made of. Whatever stubborn gene kept me getting up every morning, even when I wanted to quit. I learned that family can hurt you deeper than any stranger. That betrayal from someone you love cuts to the bone. But I also learned that family can be chosen. Helen isn't blood, but she's family. Thomas Wright checks on me every week. Richard Stone sends Christmas cards. Detective Rodriguez texts me updates about other cases she's working. These people became my family when my real family fell apart. I learned that justice and revenge are different things. Justice is what happened to Victor. The trial, the conviction, the sentence. That satisfied something in me, but it didn't make me happy. It didn't bring Tom back or heal my relationship with Sarah. It just meant the bad guy lost. Sometimes that's all you get. I learned that you can't protect yourself from everything. I had a mortgage. Security questions. I thought I was careful, but Sarah knew me too well. She knew my stories, my history, my vulnerabilities. You can't defend against someone who has your entire life mapped out in their memory. The best you can do is pay attention. Notice when something feels wrong. Act fast when you're threatened. Don't wait for things to get better on their own. Most importantly, I learned that getting knocked down isn't failure. Staying down is failure. I'm 75 years old. I was homeless, penniless, facing criminal charges, betrayed by my daughter, threatened by a gangster. Any of those things could have ended me. All of them together should have. But I got back up, and I'd do it again. Martha used to say that to me when I was frustrated with work, with contractors who didn't show up, with projects that went wrong. It's not about how hard you fall, Dudley. It's about whether you get back up. I got back up, bruised, damaged, different than I was, but standing. And standing is enough. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? Have you ever had to fight back when it would have been easier to quit? What would you do in my situation? Would you forgive Sarah, or keep her at a distance? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your stories matter. Your experiences can help others going through similar situations. We're all learning together. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories. Subscribe so you don't miss future ones. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it's possible to survive betrayal to fight back against injustice, to stand up even when everything says to fall down. Thank you for listening to my story, for sitting with me through the pain and the fight and the messy, complicated healing. I hope it helps you in some way. I hope it reminds you that you're stronger than you think. May you never face what I faced. But if you do, may you find the strength to get back up. Take care of yourselves, protect your loved ones, and never, ever give up.